Breaking news! White House Senate reached a deal on $2 trillion stimulus package. This actually happened way late at night, I think sometime around midnight or so. The article is at 1:14 a.m. The White House and Senate leaders reached a deal early Wednesday morning on a massive stimulus package that they hope will keep the nation from falling into a deep recession because of the coronavirus crisis. Well, guys, let's get right into the article. Please just do me a quick favor. Drop a like on this video, leave a comment, even if that comment is, "No! The Pelosi bill! The Pelosi bill, Crow! It was everything we desired!" Because all comments are great for the YouTube algorithm, and that would be a really funny comment to leave, let's be honest. The revamped Senate proposal will inject approximately $2 trillion into the economy, providing tax rebates, 4-month expanded unemployment benefits, and a slew of business tax relief provisions aimed at shoring up individual family and business finances. The deal includes $500 billion for a major corporate liquidity program through the Federal Reserve, $367 billion for a small business loan program, $100 billion for hospitals, and $150 billion for state and local governments. It will also give a one-time check to $1,200 to Americans who make up to $75,000. Individuals with no or little tax liability would receive the same amount, unlike the initial GOP proposal that would have given them a minimum of $600. Which is surprising, because you'd think that'd be the one thing Democrats wanted. The agreement caps 5 days of intense negotiations that started Friday morning when Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell convened Republican Democrat colleagues with talks stretching late into the evening each of the following 4 days. At last we have a deal. The Senate has reached a bipartisan agreement. McConnell said during a speech on the Senate floor after 1:30 a.m. on Wednesday, pledging that the Senate would pass the package later in the day. Senate Democrat leader Charles Schumer, call him Chuck Schumer, come on, New York hailed the legislation as the largest rescue package in American history. The bill is far from perfect, but we believe the legislation has been improved significantly to warrant its quick consideration and passage, he said. And just real quick, this is a good thing. It is. And the only criticism I have is, why couldn't you just pass the procedural vote and then negotiate all of this stuff in the Senate? Like, why do we have to do this up until Wednesday? Oh, right, Pelosi. The final talks were conducted among McConnell, Schumer, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, White House Legislation Affairs Director Eric Ueland, and incoming White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows? Really? Damn, I didn't know that. Schumer keeps in close touch throughout the process with Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Of course he did. He needs her permission on everything. It's kind of embarrassing. Who introduced her own $2.5 trillion bill Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, we're done. We have a deal, Ueland told reporters, breaking the news after one of the final meetings in McConnell's office after midnight Tuesday night. Yeah, so after midnight there. Ueland noted that the staffers would work into Wednesday morning to finish the text of the bill, but that when it came to some of the negotiations' largest sticking points, they already have language agreed to, or we know exactly where we're going to land. Which is good. Mnuchin said early Wednesday morning that President Trump was pleased with the deal and urged Pelosi to take up the Senate bill and pass it without changes. This is very important bipartisan legislation that is going to be very important to help American workers, American businesses. We couldn't be more pleased. Spoken to the president many times today. He's very pleased with the legislation, the impact is going to have, he told reporters. Pressed if that meant Trump would sign it if it reached his desk in its current form, he added, absolutely. Congress is under intense pressure to quickly pass the deal and reassure both the markets and an American public rattled by the spread of the coronavirus, with the United States having more than 55,000 confirmed cases as of Tuesday night. According to Johns Hopkins University, the deal hammered out by negotiators provided $30 billion in emergency education funding, $25 billion in emergency transit funding, and creates an employee retention tax credit to incentivize businesses to keep workers on payroll during the crisis. I mean, these are all good things. It would also provide $25 billion direct financial aid to struggling airlines and $4 billion to air cargo carriers, two industries that have taken a big hit in the economic downturn. That's actually really important because what's happening right now, the airlines are talking about shutting down, and if you shut down the airlines, that is going to have a long-term impact on people. I mean, obviously, there's going to be disagreements. There's going to be certain things that people don't like. In general, I'm not a fan of giving any money out from the federal government. But This is not just, oh, you know, people made a mistake and we just need to give them money so they can do better. It's not that. It's not a handout. It's legitimately, it's a pandemic. The federal government has mandated shutdowns of businesses. Like, this is not the result of mismanagement. It's not. I mean, you can argue that they should have saved money for a rainy day. I get it. But it's not their fault. And, you know, their rainy day savior is seemingly, we're just going to fire all of our employees and wait for things to turn back up again. We can't do that either. So, I don't know. I think it's a good thing. I really do think that it is a good thing that this is happening. Again, the only real criticism I have is that this should have been taken up on Sunday. They should have passed the procedural vote, and then they should have just negotiated this stuff in the Senate, which is what they blocked. I don't know why you needed to like stress out the nation for 3 days over this bullshit, but I'm just glad that it's over. And I really hope nothing else pops up. I'm really hopeful nothing else pops up here. Oh man. The Senate Republicans on Tuesday were characterizing the direct assistance as SNAP loans instead of grants to avoid the stigma of the proposal being called a bailout, but it's yet to be determined how the government would be compensated. The bill bans stock buybacks for any corporation that accepts government loans during the term of their assistance plus 1 year. Oh, well, there you go. Schumer added a provision to ban businesses owned by the president, vice president, members of Congress, and the heads of federal executive departments from receiving loans or investments through the corporate liquidity program. The prohibition also applies to their children, spouses, and in-laws. I'm totally okay with that. You know, there are a lot of people upset that Trump resorts and hotels would receive any sort of assistance. And I think that extending that to all members of the House, all of their family members, everyone, you know, the president, vice president, heads of federal executive departments, that actually makes sense. So, you know, good for Schumer for putting that in there. Legislation creates an Inspector General and Oversight Committee for the Corporate Assistance Program, similar to what was done for the Troubled Asset Relief Program of a decade ago, according to the senior administration official. The deal comes 2 days after talks appear to unravel when Democrats accuse Republicans of walking away from negotiations. Fuck you. Oh man, that is fucking hilarious. Schumer and Pelosi announced early Sunday afternoon that there was no agreement after they met with Mnuchin, McConnell, and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy in the Capitol. But Schumer and Mnuchin met at least 5 times Monday as they worked until midnight. Mnuchin was back in the Capitol at 9:30 a.m. Tuesday when he and Meadows met with McConnell before restarting his shuttle diplomacy with Schumer. And Pelosi appeared cautiously optimistic on Tuesday that the Senate would reach a deal that could also get support in the House. You know, I'm just saying, it would be really frustrating if this hit the House and was again loaded up with a bunch of bullshit. But let's be hopeful for now, because everybody has announced that this is going through, and anyone who pumps the brakes on this is going to look like a real jackass. And they really don't like looking like jackasses. I'm optimistic that we can get something done. I praise Chuck and Senate Democrats for staying. What? Pelosi told MSNBC's Andrea Mitchell. I don't know if that's just a typo. She actually stuttered there, but we've been working together in terms of the policy issue. I don't like Pelosi. I think Pelosi is the reason why everybody had to pause here, and it was to basically abuse a crisis. So I really don't like that she is patting herself on the ass, but you just let it go. They go into, so from here, they just basically go into all the things that happened in the past couple days, which I think most of you are already aware if you watch any of the videos we do, because we just recently talked about it. But again, we start out the morning with good news. This is good news. Let's all be happy with the good news. Let's not drag it down. I know that it's not perfect. I know that it doesn't address what everybody wants. And I know that there are a lot of libertarians and conservatives who really dislike the idea of an aid package altogether. But if the government mandates a shutdown, the government in a pandemic, and whether or not you want to say this is a real crisis or yada, 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 it's not about that. The government is mandating shutdowns in the face of pandemic. because of those shutdowns, businesses are being impacted. The government should compensate for the loss of revenue, which has led to people losing their jobs. And that seems to be what this relief package is doing. Now, if there's any change in there, if there's some sort of hidden poison pill, some sort of like creepy little, oh, we're going to give $7 million to that DC charter school. Yeah, let's call it out. But as of right now, let's just be happy that people who absolutely despise and hate each other were able to see past their own bullshit for like a day and get us what we actually need in the nation. Anyways, guys, that's the video. I got 2 more coming out a little bit later. James Woods being locked out of his Twitter account, and Anita Sarkeesian calling for all ARPists to be free from prison. So look forward to that one. I'll see you in the next one.